Hi guys, this video is for Intro to Animation Week 6. I wanted to talk a little bit about scene hierarchy and just how films are constructed a little bit so we can find our place and so that we're not trying to do too much or too little with our storyboard project, which we're introducing this week. So in terms of a film, you've got macro and you've got micro. So a film would be like the macro level, and then within the film you may have three structures or three acts. You may have beginning, middle, and end. So act 1, 2, and 3, right? So act 1 is the intro, and then the middle would be like the journey, and then the act 3 would be the climax and the resolution. And so those are three main big story points that you can work on. But then paring everything down, within those three acts, you may have several sequences, right? So in act 1, as you're introducing the characters, you may have the moment where the character, is invited on a journey, and then he decides not to, and then he changes his mind and decides after all that he's going to go. So those may be three different sequences within Act 1. And Act 2 will have that as the character is learning and developing and changing, and then Act 3 will also have several sequences of maybe like the confrontation, and then the big fight, and then how everything gets resolved at the end, right? So there are different levels that we can think of in terms of story, and then breaking that down, those sequences may have different scenes within them. Okay, so the different scenes within, say the introduction of the character, right? You may have three different scenes within that where we meet the character, he steps out of the shower, slips on soap, and falls, right? So he's kind of clumsy, and we get that impression. We also may see him interacting with his family, or if it's a Disney movie, we find out his parents are dead, right? So there's that element of it, and so you may have these several different scenes within the sequences, but they all kind of exist within usually the same geography. So like everything will happen within the character's house, but it's just different scenes within there. And then if you go down to the absolute micro level, we're talking about a single scene. Within the scene, let's just talk about the character steps out of the shower and slips on a bar of soap, right? That may be something that the animator is going to be thumbnailing the entire process. And so it's going to be the step, the slip, and the landing, and then the reaction, right? Those are different actions that the animator has to consider, maybe all within the same scene. So where does that leave us with the storyboard project? The storyboard is not a thumbnail of a single scene. It's a collection of scenes within a sequence together. Okay, so it's not a character sitting at a bus stop, checking his watch, looking around, and then the bus comes and splashes him, right? That's those different actions may comprise different scenes, and so those things would need to be storyboarded because you're going to use different camera angles, right? So think of the storyboards as something that needs to consider each different camera angle at the very least, right? Within that, a good storyboard artist is going to be looking for acting beats. Okay, so within a scene, something happens, right? A character is sitting waiting, he gets covered with water, and then he's upset, right? So there's this change between optimistic to, oh no, I'm late for my interview, or something like that. And so within the scene, so as you're drawing, maybe you have two different panels, right? And those two different panels would describe the emotional beats of the character. Or in terms of action, they may need to delineate the anticipation of an action, like up to bat, right? So the character swings his bat, right? Or if it's Julio Franco, it's way up here, and then the follow through of hitting or missing the ball. So it needs to be enough to communicate the action. Okay, so it's not just every camera angle, right? It's not just close up. It's what happens within that close up. Is there anything? Is it just close up on the eyes? We can see that he's nervous. Or is there a change that happens within there? So it's close up on the eyes where he's looking through, let's say, a peephole or something like that to a hotel, and then he realizes what's going to happen, right? Somebody's going to punch the door in or something like that. And so you have this emotional change that happens within there. So it can just be a camera angle, right? A storyboard can just be a single frame that tells part of the story, but it can be a couple of different drawings within that show the emotional change of the character. So I wanted you to consider that. So I want to show a couple of contrasting examples. This would be a storyboard, right? So this is from Prepare to Board, which is a decent book. Creating story and characters for animation, features, and story and shorts. Sorry, can't read it backwards. It's all mirrored. And so there are a couple different examples here, and we're going to look at this one. This one shows 3 storyboard panels in sequence, and what you get is this sort of this linear nature of the story. Okay, so on the micro, that's more like a traditional storyboard. On the micro level, what an animator would do would be to take those actions and thumbnail them out. So I've got a couple different sketches that I've done. This one is, the top one is throwing a ball, sweeping arms around this way, and this one's pulling on a rope. And so you need several different poses to kind of get that action across. Okay, so within the frames, think about how you can make changes to the character's emotion or physicality within there. So hopefully that helps clarify and gives you a larger context of what's going to be happening with this project. Storyboards, it sounds really complicated, but it really it's I mean, start thinking about it in terms of simple drawings, stick figures. They don't have to be highly rendered. They just need to consider the scene, give a little bit of depth in the characters in the background, and then think about how you can make the characters pop out from the background. So maybe just a little bit of contrast or even some really rough shading. But beyond that, it's not necessary to go into too much detail. We just need to have the general proportions and physicality of the characters consistent from scene to scene. So hopefully that helps explain it a little bit, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work.